Hey, this is Reggie Ponder, the Real Critic, and this is the Real Critic Roundtable where Black critics come to discuss, debate, and have some fun. I have my guests here as usual, but before we do that, I do want to have a little commentary. And my commentary is it seems like it's going to be political, but it's really not. Is that our one of our uh, politicians, Tim Scott, got up and said that this country is not a racist country. And the reason that that really impacts what we talk about in terms of movies, because it actually impacts what we show about this country. It actually impacts how we look at this country. And from a cinematic perspective, if we look at this country not as from the origins from which it really came, the fact that they brought Africans over here as slaves and on the backs of Africans and now African Americans as this country was built, but we don't talk about that. We don't talk about the origins of this country. Give me your tired and your poor, or give me the people that we stole. I think that I hope that the cinematic universe has taken note of this discussion, because it's not a good discussion. It is not good when we're going to sweep under the rug the way in which this country was founded, and especially as we talk about the way in which we depict it on the screen. Hey, that's just me. I'm Reggie Ponder, the Real Critic. Hey, what can I say? I'm going to say welcome to my guests. As usual, we have my friend Katia Woods in the house, cupofsoulshow.com. And Katia, you did the Oscars, and I know for sure that you've been working after the Oscars that you couldn't even call a brother. So I don't know how much fun you had, how busy it was. Tell us something.
I mean, what this was like a week for dumb people. I don't say dumb people. Let me just say dumb statements, because Tim Scott, Dr. Umar, who was really off on his statement about the hate and what Asian Americans have endured. I'm like, did you just skip over World War II and the Japanese internment camp? Was that, what did he think that was, like a Club Med? You know what I mean? Talk to some people who are descendants of those people, or some of those people are still alive. We wouldn't have a railroad. And again, it's exactly what Reggie's talking about, and Rick Santorum, really. I mean, it was like a trifecta of ill things, and why then people cling to these folks. But the Academy Awards also had their own little blunder, which goes into what Reggie says. And thank you for having me, and I'm happy to be here. Don't invite people just for optics. And, you know, I understand it's a crowded room, and I was happy to be there because you do get some insights, you do get some firsthand understanding and seeing how these winners talk about things and how they're taking it in. And I think it's also like unfair, because you're still trying to process that you won this thing. For some people, it's a lifelong dream. For some people, it isn't, but they're going to be appreciative and they're going to enjoy their moment. There is something seriously wrong when it comes to how people address people of color when they reach a pinnacle in their career. I don't care if this person never talked about winning. The point is, there is something wrong. And unfortunately, it was demonstrated by Black and white people. There was a Black person that asked Yoon Jung-jin, what does Brad Pitt smell like? This woman has an over 40 career. I'm always like, if you don't know somebody's career, ask them about them. It would have been super easy to just say, what does this moment mean to you? Boom. And then she can go in. And also, Rachel wasn't the only one. There were 4 people consecutively that asked her about Brad Pitt. And I do have to look at the publicist, because she should have stepped in and said, please stick to the subject at hand. You send out these rules, but you allow people to break them. That's something else that works on my nerves. You know, we always following the rules, and then the mainstream are doing whatever they want, and you're like, oh, so this doesn't apply to them? The other thing, too, is obviously the other one is a woman from the HFPA who claimed she didn't confuse Daniel with Leslie, Wink, wink, but we know better. And then on top of that, let's give her the benefit of the doubt and say she didn't. She still decided to ask Daniel about Regina. One has nothing to do with the other. In my response to her, I said, "You're from South Africa." That's like me asking you about Kenya, knowing you're from South Africa. Does that make sense to you? Of course it does. That's exactly what you did. And again, and then she claimed she was familiar with his career. Again, if nothing else, if you didn't see the movie, if you saw nothing of his, just ask him, what does this mean to you? Because he's been acting since he was a teenager. And maybe this was on his dream list, or maybe it wasn't. Or maybe ask him, what does this mean for young Black British actor? Because right now there's a wave coming. What do you hope this does? I'm just saying. But the point is, a lot of us didn't get a chance to ask because we're under this ideology that if you are or have a position at certain situations, that therefore your skill sets are superior. So now we have these gaps coming out. And people going, well, you had all these Black and brown journalists. Why would you not incorporate them in the conversation? So my thing to the Academy is, number one, do your job as a publicist and stop allowing people to ask embarrassing questions. And the other thing too is talent of colors is to stand there and politely smile. Because if they would have snapped, then people would have said that they're arrogant. The list goes on and on. So you're putting these people in precarious positions. Number two is, we also got to understand, and a lot of people get mad at me when I say this, but but it is what it is. There's a difference between an influencer, there's a difference between a TV personality, and there's a difference between a journalist. We are journalists. We cover this thing from January to December. We cover the small films. We talk to all types of talent, and when we do, we are speaking as informed people, right? I make this a rant, but the point is, it's insulting. I don't mind when someone who I feel like has better skills, and a lot of people I feel are stronger writers, are better interviewers that I feel really influence me, and that I feel like, okay, this is someone that I can learn from. But it's insulting when you're being skipped over for people that you know that you're better than. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I do. I do. And I ask you because I think it's so important for you to put this out there and to talk about it. And I really appreciate your perspective on it. I want to take this opportunity, though, to welcome KB back to the fold. See, last week we talked about the Oscars, and I'm like, how can we not finish talking about the Oscars without KB? I don't even think that we can do that. So here she is, the Color Grade podcast on wherever. I know you can get on Apple. So KB, I know that today, yesterday, today, the day before today, you were interviewing so many people. Girl, I'm getting jealous. I mean, who's on your docket?
Woo! Well, thank you first for having me. I do have some remarks about the Oscars, which we will get into later. Katia brought up some great points, and I have a lot to say, especially, about these rules and how, if you're truly going to enforce them, then enforce them for everyone. But yes, the docket for this week has been stacked. We all actually had a wonderful chat with Kelvin about Monster. And I mean, that was an extraordinary conversation. So you guys are just going to have to watch each and every one of our coverage on the Africa Roundtable series about that, because I think the conversation was so rich and it's such an interesting film. And so can't wait for you guys to see that. And then, next week, over the course of next week, I'll be dropping some interviews from the new Netflix superhero show, Jupiter's Legacy. That's all I can say for now.
All you can say?
But yeah, they're going to come. They're going to come. I have the full cast, and it's going to be a range of interviews dropping next week.
And where can people catch these interviews is what I really want to know, because if you're going to drop it like that, where can they check it out?
Listen, I am doing these interviews for The Beat, aka formerly known as Comics Beat. So, like one of the number one sources for comic book information and interviews. So you can catch everything there. And I'm super excited. And if you happen to, subscribe to my YouTube channel through the lens of Lady KB, you can see them there as well.
Well, good. So we got a couple of movies we're gonna get through. We got three, and I'm actually gonna start off. I think I'm gonna start off with the movie that Katya didn't see, and that is Things Heard. I'm gonna start because once you get into it, you be so hot, you're gonna be like So KB, did you see this movie Things Heard and Seen?
I did. We gonna get into it.
So this film stars Amanda Seyfried, and it is about a couple who moves to this kind of remote town, and the husband's a professor, the wife is a ex artist. She's an artist, and she really basically gives up everything for him. They have a daughter. They move into this house that seems to be haunted, and there's some stuff going on, but it's all kind of mysterious. The husband's somewhat mysterious. The reason why they're at that house is a little bit mysterious. Everything is a little bit mysterious, and I want to tell you, it's the beginning of this film, and actually through the first half of this film, they had me because I wanted to know what's going on here, what secrets are they keeping, and they kept it in a way with some good suspense. I'm not going to say it was as good that first half as something like The Quiet Place, but it reminded me of that in a way that it kept me suspenseful up until a certain point. But once they revealed, some of the stuff started to be revealed and unraveled, it unraveled for me. And I don't think it was because of the reveal. I think it was because of the way in which they continued the story after. It didn't make as much sense for me. And so I'm kind of on the fence because I really liked this first part of the film, but then the second part of the film let me down so much. I don't know. What's your thoughts on this one, KB?
Listen, I'm right there with you. So here's the first thing. Everybody knows I actually don't do horror. So I was reluctant going into this film when I saw that it was billed as a horror film. I was like, y'all know I don't do horror. What Reggie got me out here watching? So then I started watching it and I was committed, because to me it's really not a horror film. It's more of a suspense thriller. And so in the beginning, I was like, oh, okay, here's this couple. They are literally cracked around the edges, I guess is the best way to put it. Their relationship is kind of cracked around the edges. They have this daughter. They move into this house, which is, in fact, it's not even a spoiler. It is definitely haunted. That is the whole premise of the film. So, they move into this haunted house. But I was Reggie. The first half, I was committed. Tell me more about this couple. Tell me more about this house. Then all of a sudden, they added in some extra layers that don't make sense. I'm like, what is this? Then I got to the end and I said, why did I watch this? Truly, because I don't understand what happened. I got to the end and I was like, wait, what? And I'm still confused, and I need to do a debrief with Reggie offline because I know we're not trying to spoil it for you guys. But I need to do a debrief with Reggie offline because I'm truly I don't understand. I really do not understand.
So this is so funny that you would say you don't understand because the ending was so messed up. Obviously in my opinion, but it was so messed up. And how do you do this first half of a movie that felt like a movie, and then you do this other stuff that really felt like you just kind of threw some things together, and then at the end kind of rushed everything. It was disappointing. And yes. Katya says this to me a lot of times. She says, Reggie, if you got Netflix and you just look for something to watch, this is not one of those films. It's gonna make you mad. You're
gonna get to the end and you're gonna be upset.
You're gonna be mad. So
but hold on. I will say this.
Paying for it. You're paying for it, but you got.
But here's the thing. I will say, I was into Amanda's performance in the beginning, but I definitely feel like by the end of the film, we did her character a 100% complete disservice. I just felt like I was so upset. And there also, I would be remiss if I didn't mention, there there are also elements, not just the haunted house, but there are elements of mysticism and some other things. But I will say, I really was rooting for my girl Amanda, and then at the end I was like, I can't even root for her no more. Like, what is happening? I felt let down. So
it's
I
really
don't know.
interesting. It's really interesting. I'm so glad that you said that before we wrap this piece up, because it wasn't the acting. It wasn't the acting in this at all. I think, it's just slipped my mind, the husband's name, so I apologize. But the acting in this, I thought was good all the way throughout. Uh, even the extra characters were a little bit mysterious. Like, why is she talking to her, and why is she talking to him, and so all that kind of stuff kind of did. But then it just, I think, imploded. So for me, unfortunately, it's not a watch it. I cannot recommend you watching this one and staying around. Your thoughts, KB?
Listen, I'm with Reggie that, the performances were outstanding. The husband, whose name is James Norton, he portrays her husband, George. I think that he's chilling in some fantastic ways, but I can't in good conscience say that you should watch it, because you will feel exactly how Reggie and this is one of those times where, like, I can't even say in my opinion. I know you're going to be upset at the end. Like, it's a blanket statement. Like, you will be upset at the end of this film. I don't know a single person who won't be like, what?
Well, that's it. That's it on that. We're going to move on now. We can get Katia back into the fold. Our next movie, Katia, is Together, and tell us what this one's about and what your thoughts are.
Together is about a man who is in his 40s, and he decides he wants to be a parent. And like a lot of people, he didn't have the love of his life. He doesn't have a partner, but he's like, you know what? I have enough love. I have a support system, and I can afford it. You know what I mean? Which is kind of important when you're thinking about having a child. So he hires a surrogate to have a child. And this movie is basically about their relationship and how they're dealing with having the baby. And she's the direct opposite. She's just doing this basically for the money. She doesn't want to have an emotional connection. She doesn't want to have kids. But she looks at this like, I'm doing something for him. At the same time, I'm getting paid. And I think what I like about this dynamic is a lot of people are like him. This is not such a bizarre, this is not like, where are you getting this from story where you hear every single day women, men who are like, you know what, I always wanted to be a parent. I just never found the right person. Some people choose to go via a surrogate. Other people choose to adopt. But the point is, I think it also opens up the discussion, what makes a family? And I think we all can say that that picture has changed a lot. I think this movie is quirky. I think it's well written. I think it's well acted. And I liked it a lot more than I thought I was going to like it based upon the previews. Because sometimes this type of stuff can get, when it's that type of quirkiness, it can get a little dry. But I felt as though, in essence, these two people were lonely people that through this bizarre experiment became each other's refuge. You know what I mean? And again, nobody in a million years would have thought like, hey, I'm going to have this dude's baby and then in turn gain a friend, gain a confidant, for lack of a better word.
KB, you were shaking your head. I really want to jump in here, but I'm going to go ahead. You the guest, so go ahead and jump in here.
I adore this film. It took me by surprise when I saw it at Sundance. So as the person on this panel who is not married and does not yet have children, I think that like it was super relatable in the sense that when you're young, you don't necessarily expect your life to go a certain way. And so, that's exactly what Ed Helms' character as Matt finds himself in. He doesn't think, he actually ended in this film, I believe that he ends a long-term relationship, and that's why he ends up here. And he's in his 40s, and he sees, his brother and his best friends and everyone with the family that he desires, and he decides to take matters in his own hands. And so, his counterpart in Anna, portrayed by Patty Harrison, is not necessarily his first choice. Obviously he's doing a significant interview process, but I think that what happens is that they become what each other needs. And so it's such an interesting film about platonic relationships and platonic love that we do not often get to see, because this isn't a story about them being together in a traditional sense. This is a story of him paying her for services, and in that, becoming lifelong friends and becoming partners in a different sense.
They're together.
Yeah. And I loved it. And I loved every moment of it. I loved how their dynamic flourished. For me, the one caveat, and I actually said this on the Color Grade podcast because we talked about this for Sundance, is the age difference. I would have preferred Anna to be a bit older. In this film, she is very young, which I think is part of the draw of her becoming a surrogate, is needing the money and being young. And, she's trying to do something with her life, and she wants to, finish school and do that whole bit. So I get it. But just from a creative perspective, I think it would have been a bit more interesting, in my opinion, if she had been in her 30s and also had, not yet had a family and her life. I would have liked to see that.
Can you talk about, Reggie, can you talk about the piece when you review it? There is this thing that people say that men and women can't be friends. And I'm very glad, and please elaborate it as a man, that they didn't make them fall in love, because I think that would have made it cheesy. I think that they kept them as friends.
There was a point when I thought that they were going to kiss, and I was like, please, no, please don't do that, because it really did a very... I'm married with kids, but they did such a good job with the writing and the acting in this that I identified with both of the characters. And what I'll tell you is, with Ed Helms, I couldn't stand his character for almost 3/4 of the film, because I was like, if I'm the woman, you getting on my nerve, dude, stopping at my job, buying me gifts, trying to tell me that I want to know the sex of the baby. I don't want to know this stuff. But I like how they did it, because it's showing this guy so gung-ho, so into it, that while I didn't love his character, I loved his character, because I think that there was so much truth to the way in which they did it. And it's funny, Clancy, that you say quirky, because it is kind of quirky. This guy's like, I want a baby shower, I wanted this. And so, but it's also interesting when you look at the two of them, because one of the things that you talked about, KB, is that they probably were what each other needed. And the cool thing about this film is that I don't think they knew what they needed. So as they went along, they had to learn that, because they're setting boundaries and like, no, I don't want to know the baby's name, but I'll come over your house and I'll pick out the color of the of the room. So it was a really sweet movie, and I liked it more than I thought I would like, because a lot of these quirky movies, sometimes I can't see myself in it. I don't understand. But I think that they did a good job of showing a man's point of view and the woman's point of view. I thought they did a really good job with that. And I should have wrote down to shout out the writers for this, because whenever we talk about a movie isn't good, we always say the writers messed up. But I think the writers did a good job here. Katya, you were trying to jump in.
Well, I was going to say it's only one writer. Just okay. The writer and the director are the same. Her name is Nicole Beckwith.
Well, she crushed it. She crushed it.
That shows, because again, I agree with you. But the other thing that really drew me to it, I like the fact that the woman was the emotional void person and the guy was the emotional one. Because too often we get the story the other way around, where he's like, okay, I'm going to help knock you up and then leave me alone. And again, I do think that And only I would be with KB that I would want the woman to be a little bit older. But I think it also shows that where you are in your 20s, you're not thinking you might never have a chance to do this, right? So therefore, she treats it very cavalier. Where he in his 40s is like, I did everything that I was supposed to do, and I still ended up alone. But I'm not going to deny myself this thing of marriage. And again, I cannot give her more kudos on the fact that she kept them as friends, because you know that somebody else would have went and they would have fell in love and it would have been weird and the movie would have went south for me. Do you know what I mean? And again, I do like this movie, and this is the thing, you know, but I love about Sundance. You go in to see a film and you have no expectation. You're like, this was kind of good.
And I just want to say, for the people out there watching this, I don't think that there's really any spoilers here. Is that you're going to have this roller coaster ride with these two characters. You're going to see what happens at the end, which we have not even told you what happens at the end. We're just happy that they showed this kind of platonic relationship, this relationship between men and women, that men and women can get along. And I know you guys have been watching my show, so you see that Katya and I get along. KB and I do have our problems, but you know, hey, men and women can get along.
Listen, men and women as friends.
Yes, and I will say that, you know, I think one of the biggest strengths of this film, to Katya's point, is the fact that they deconstruct gender norms. So, you know, like, he wants a baby shower because why not? Also, he's going to be a single father. So when is he going to get all of the things that he needs from his family and his friends? He needs a baby shower, you know? So he's going to the birthing classes. He's doing this. I think that, like, him being emotional is great because it speaks to who he is as a person. And he's not just emotional because he's in the scenario. He is an emotional person throughout the film with everyone involved. So I love that. I love the deconstruction of the gender norms, and just he's allowed to be who he is. She's allowed to be who she is. It's not about changing who they are as people, but allowing them to come together in a unique way.
Hey, so for me, this is a watch it. KB?
Watch it.
Katya?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, well.
But bring some tissues, though. Bring some tissues.
Yeah, it is.
Yes. There you have it. And I guess I just throw one other thing in, is that I didn't watch it with my wife, Donna, but this would have been, we would have had fun watching it. I just had to sneak it in there before I got to watch it with her. But I think that this would be a good, like, kind of date night movie, you know, to watch. So throw that in there. All right. So we're at our last film, and that last film is Without Remorse. I do want to say we had no remorse for that last film. KB, tell me about this one.
Yeah, so Without Remorse is based on a novel of the same name by Tom Clancy. It's actually a spinoff of the Jack Ryan film series. And this one is starring Michael B. Jordan as the titular character, John Clark. You know, there are some tragedies that happen in John's life. He is a U.S. Navy SEAL. I'm trying not to spoil it in this. There's a lot of uncovering government secrets, tragedy, and revenge plots. There we go. I'm trying to keep it as vague as possible.
Yeah, you're doing.
But I will say
action,
and yeah.
So when we look at these action films, the issue is, does the story matter and does it work? So for me, and the reason I bring this up, KB, because I want you to comment on this, is that for me, when I look at a series like a Jason Bourne, it's complicated, but it's simple. Meaning that it's all complicated, but they still keep it simple, so it's not so complicated that you can't follow it. This one, I believe they made it complicated, and it wasn't simple. And I think that that's for me, that was a problem with the story. The action in this film is good throughout. I mean, Michael B. Jordan, hand-to-hand combat. They got explosions and bombs and all that type of stuff. They got guns that put big holes in the stuff. Here's my problem, though, is that the holes started before they had the guns, because the writers had some holes in this one, and in my opinion, and it was just a problem for me, because I wanted it to be so much better. I love the Jason Bourne series, and I just felt that this felt a little dated to me. Like maybe the writers didn't know how to, maybe the story was so old they didn't know how to update it, or maybe they didn't know how to transform it to the big screen. It's not that I didn't like it. It's just that it didn't bam, it didn't hit me like that. So KB.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree. So I'm actually a huge fan of Mission Impossible, that series and that film series, and I adore it. And I think to your point, you're correct. So they come out of the gate swinging, but they don't give enough explanations out of the gate for it to make sense. So I think it was hard to follow in the sense that, you know, I couldn't really keep up, if I'm being honest, with some of the characters that he was going after, because I was like, wait, didn't we do this? Did we do? It just had a lot of loose ends throughout. That for me, I was like, I can't quite grasp where we're going, what this means, where we're headed. I also think that, like, you know, a lot of the film, in my personal opinion, you know, it focuses on John's character, which makes sense. He is the main character, but it underutilizes a lot of other actors as well. And so I'm a huge fan of Jodie Turner-Smith. I think that she can do anything. I would have loved to see more of her in a different capacity in this film. I actually really like Jamie Bell too, and I would have liked to see more of Jamie. But I spent most of my time, you know, really Jamie's character, Robert, really trying to figure out if I could trust him. I spent like 98% of the time doing that. So, you know, you know, Reggie's points, the action, top tier, top notch. You know, I have no complaints about that. And while this has not been confirmed, we can suspect that this is going to be a film franchise and they will get a sequel. What I would like in the sequel is for them to just take an opportunity to really kind of rewind, slow it down a bit script wise, and really flesh it out a bit more, and, like, you know, give us a fuller script that's easier to follow.
And I just want to say, before we get Katya in here, even if they don't slow it down, if you quicken it up, I don't really, that wasn't my problem with the pace. For me, at least, the pace wasn't my problem. It was that they just jumped from place to place, that even if it was that fast, for me, I feel like even with Mission Impossible, it's quick. I mean, I don't know.
But you always know what they're doing too in Mission Impossible. I've never watched a Mission Impossible film and been conflicted or confused about where we were going or where we were headed or what they were doing. I always know. You know what I mean? And so here I was like, wait, what?
And the last thing I want to say is that Jodie, I loved what she did in it. So the fact that you want more, I have no problem. I think it was such a different departure to see her from a Queen and Slim to see her in this, and I loved her. I'm not saying
I did not love her performance. I absolutely loved her performance. I'm just saying I want them to utilize her more in more of a capacity. And quite frankly, if they were going to do a spinoff with a woman, I will watch, you know, Jodie Turner-Smith's Karen.
Katya, come on in, Katya.
So, well, okay. Full disclosure, I'm a huge Tom Clancy novel fan. I've read most of his books. There is Tom's vision. Tom is really, he's very descriptive of what these different departments within the government do and what their roles are. He goes into the whole backstory of how this character came to be who he came to be. The novel came out in 1993. So I understand updating some things for 2021, but the story works. And that's where I kind of veer off. It's one thing, I mean, obviously, you know, you're not machinery, how you engage in combat. All of that makes sense. But you also took some turns with the story that took away from the original and the reason why people love Tom Clancy's books. The other thing is, Tom never makes his, and he's deceased, I'm speaking for him, sadly, never makes his enemies, like in James Bond, you know who the bad guy is. In Mission Impossible, you know who the bad guy is straight away. These are the good people, this is the bad person, this is who they're going after. In Tom Clancy's novel, the bad person is never who you think it is and is usually disguised, and he doesn't reveal who that person is towards the end. I felt as though, and also, hence you have the Jamie Bell character who is playing kind of like decoy. And again, I'm really trying hard not to give anything away. I have no problem that Michael B. Jordan's character originally obviously was white in the book, and then Jodie's character was a man. So I don't have a problem with any of that. What I have a problem with is that they focus so much on the action that they forgot to develop the story. The action plays off the story. The reason why you care about him is because of stuff that is happening and wanting to understand, even though you don't agree with it, why they're doing what they're doing. I don't know what it is with Hollywood, but they have not gotten this man's work right. I think the only interpretation, and maybe Jack Ryan now on Amazon is coming a little close. First season, second season, a little shaky, is The Hunt for Red October, right? These heroes are not specifically people who ask to be heroes. They're heroes by circumstance. They're usually background players or people that just do something because for love of country, that are all of a sudden thrust into this bigger moment. And we didn't have any of that here. I love Michael B. Jordan, but this character went through a lot. I needed a little bit more emotional range from him. I felt he kind of played in one key. You had one note. It was like monotone, 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 monotone. You have all this stuff happening to you, and I'm not understanding how this is affecting you because I'm not seeing anything. Again, I think the action was great, but if they're going to continue this theory, and this is what I always tell people, the books work for a reason, right? Stop reinventing the wheel. Take the story, stay true to the story, and then again, update like maybe location and things like that. But when you start messing with the story, that's when you get this, where you put all this focus on the action that you forgot that we still have to go on this ride with you. Why are we cheering for you? Why do we care? Why should we invest in you? These are all things that I was asking myself. And again, I think, in this particular case, I feel like the script writers let him down.
It's really interesting because on the last couple of weeks we've talked about action. We've looked at Godzilla versus Kong, and we've said, who cares about the story because the action was good. Then we looked at, I forgot what we looked at last week, and we were like, which one?
Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, we're like, who cares about the story, but because the action was good. And all of us yet are saying the same thing, is that the action in it worked. It absolutely worked. But this is one that I think that the story is critical. It's critical that the story works, and it doesn't have to be so complex, even though Tom Clancy does have a hidden person here or there, whatever. I mean, that's always true in his stuff, but it doesn't have to be so complex that you can't really kind of follow it. And then when you get that surprise, you're like, oh yeah, that works. So for me, this is a mild watch it. I'm sorry, you guys. I think that the women can get their eye candy from looking at Michael B. Jordan. He does take his shirt off and all that. I got excitement from seeing Jodie on the screen doing something totally different, being a strong Black woman, being high up in the ranks of the military. Love that. So there's some things that I really liked about this film, but then overall, because the story didn't make it for me, this is a forgettable film. The only thing that I can say about it is that it's probably a good start for a franchise movie. Meaning that it sets up the franchise in a way that you probably know it's going to be action, action, action. But it just didn't kill me and blow me away. Is this a watch it for you, Katya?
I'm right there with you. And I think the difference is, like with Mortal Kombat, we know what that origin is, so we're not expecting it to be some powerful script. But we're talking about Tom Clancy, whose books are like 600 or 800 pages. So we know that he broke the story down, that he had a buildup, that there was tense moments, but he took you left and right. So the expectation is always going to be that we have a good story, right? So I think that's where we differ. But again, I mean, it's a mild watch it. I watch it for Jody. I'm all about, again, his production company did it. So give support to the production company. But I hope if they're making a follow-up that they fix and get somebody in there who understands this genre and understands Tom Clancy's work. You know what I mean? And doesn't Hollywood it, as I like to call it.
All right, KB, what's the verdict?
Yeah, so for me, it's also going to be a mild watch it. I say that based on a couple of things. So one, I do think that we need to support kind of, Black film franchises that are like this, because we need to see more in Hollywood. And so, yes, I would definitely want to say support it. For me, I disagree with Katia a little bit about Michael B. Jordan's kind of emotional. Like for me, and this might be just because I did not read the books. I was okay with him not being overly emotional, because to me, that was how he was psychologically, if that made sense. So even like how he processed trauma was very stoic. And so that's kind of what I assumed this character would go through. I want to see Michael B. Jordan in more emotional with, depth and range and opportunities in other characters, but I just wasn't sure that this was the setting. So for me, it wasn't about the performances, but it definitely was about the writing. And to Kathy's point, Mortal Kombat, I knew what I was getting into. I actually don't even need the story. I said that last week. I don't need the story. I really don't. But for this, I don't need it. But here I do. And so, for me, I'm like, okay, this is what I need. And so to Reggie's point and to what I know will happen, they're going to create a franchise out of this. And so in the second film, I just need to flesh out the script a little bit more, maybe go back to the books as a drawing board and then come back, but still give me the same level of action and intensity and acting. Just, hook it up a little bit more scripted.
Yeah, I use the example, The Hunt for Red October. They got it right. They did the action and they stay true to the essence of the story. The reason we were so on the edge of our seat to see if they were going to all make it into the United States is because the story was good, right? If they just would have been running around in that submarine and not giving us rhyme or reason to care, we would have been like, why are we even watching this? That's what I mean. That movie still stands up. It's been over 20 years. That's what I mean, like where you can have a story and have action and suspense and all this other stuff going on.
Well, I don't want to be too suspenseful because everybody knows that we're moving into our Oscar talk. So look, guys, we're up on time on this Oscar thing, so we're gonna have to hit it and quit it. So what I'm gonna ask you to do first is to make your opening Oscar statement. We're going to go through some categories, but I know you guys got an opening Oscar statement, but please keep it brief because we got a lot to get through. I'm going with you first, Katia. Opening Oscar statement.
Best Picture is last. Point blank, period. Don't nobody want to hear Best Picture third and whatever. Like, that messed all of us up. Best Picture's last.
All right. Opening statement. KB.
My opening statement is I still cannot believe that Chadwick did not win, but that is not Anthony Hopkins' fault. And that is my opening statement.
Okay. All right. And my opening statement is thank you for allowing people to say their speeches. Look, I know people feel like, hey, cut them off. But this is your chance. This is your only chance. This is your only moment. This is your only time. People got to say their speeches. I know it makes for a boring show, but thank you for letting them say what they had to say. Because I want to thank my mama, my teachers, I just want to thank everybody. So thank you. And that's my opening statement. All right, let's get through some categories. All right, so we will take Best Picture last because you just told me, Katia, the Best Picture is last. But let's go to Best Director. Katia, you felt pretty strong that Chloe was going to win for Nomadland, and I did. I don't know if there's much to talk about there other than to say, yay.
That I think we all saw that coming.
We did, yeah. We all predicted that. So look, our prediction stands. Well deserved. About time.
All right, excellent. Then for Best Actress, I think we all felt that we knew what that was going to happen there. I mean, we felt what we knew was going to happen, we all was hoping for something different. I was really hoping for Andra Day. I really felt that because I can't even see. I mean, this is might be selling her short. I can't see this not being the performance of her life. It was just phenomenal. But so it was tough for me to see that. But I thought Frances would win it. Thoughts?
We have to, this is my conversation, and I said it, and people keep trying to gaslight me. I don't think we will see it in our lifetime. Will we see another Black woman win Best Actress? That's a sad thing for me to say, you know what I mean, as a Black woman. But there is something about the Academy, and no one but people that look like us, all these people that talk about award season all year long, don't hold their feet to the fire. We are dragging the HFPA up and down, but nobody's dragging the Academy on how they will nominate these women just for optics, knowing the majority of the membership will never vote for these women. And I am like, these women are darn near perfect in these performances, and people critique them, but you want to celebrate these other women who happen not to be Black for the most mediocre of the most mediocre of things. And it really, like, I don't know, what do we say to our women anymore? Like, just don't even show up, because it ain't like you're going to win anyways, because these folks don't respect your work, and nobody is willing to have the conversation. What is it about Black women or women of color that they will not give this award to? And I honestly said this. I believe Moonlight and Halle Berry were one off.
Yeah.
That was somebody somewhere along the line. Maybe some people said, oh, you know, we just going to vote for them. They're not going to win. But there is a disrespect. 93 years, folks. 19 years ago was the last time Halle won.
I'll say this about Moonlight is that more white people saw Moonlight than Black people. So it was one of those kind of movies that, and same thing with 12 Years a Slave, is that I know more white folks who saw it than I know Black folks who saw it, because a lot of Black folks wouldn't go see it because of the trauma that of watching it and doing that. And I say the same thing about that with Precious. So there's just certain kinds of movies, and I know we've had this discussion, but because we're on the clock, any thoughts on Frances, KB?
I mean, I was hoping it would be Miss Day. Listen, I definitely think that the United States versus Billie Holiday is her film. In the sense that, like, you know, she carried it. She's extraordinary in it. I was hoping it'd go a different way, but I'm not surprised that Frances won.
All right, so I want to talk about Best Original Song. So Fight for You for Judas and the Black Messiah won, and that's her. So now she has a Grammy and she has an Oscar. I was just happy for her. I think that her artistry is incredible with the stuff that she does. So I was very happy. Thoughts, ladies?
I'll say that I love her. I've seen her perform, live in concert, and she is extraordinary. And this is well deserved. And she's, halfway to her EGOT now. So if that's even a goal for her, I mean, but she is halfway there, regardless.
All right. I guess I'll move on to Best Song. Katia, we got 3 people who won for Soul, but among them was John Baptiste for Soul. I felt that was one of the best movies of the year. So I always get knocked off my square when we start talking about animated movies being best movies, but I don't know why we can't. I mean, why can't an animated movie, generally is kind of relegated to a thing. Any thoughts on that, Katya?
Because people are narrow-minded, but I do think that Soul deserved best score. I mean, Trent Reznor and Atticus have been really on this winning streak, and they're like the new
they are
guys in the scoring. But John Baptiste props was the authenticity, of jazz. He's a jazz musician, and I think that was really, really important, because how you have a movie about a jazz musician and not have no jazz. But I loved his enthusiasm.
I am so glad that you said that, because I was very, very disrespectful to Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, because you're absolutely right. What they have been doing is, it's scary. It's actually scary. I actually want to just say, can I be y'all friend? Can I give you 2 words? Can I give y'all 2 words for the song and get a writing credit?
I mean, I will say that the music in Soul is fantastic. Like, if you do not like the music in Soul, then I'm confused about if you actually like music. It is fantastic.
It is fantastic. And again, they're taking that matter, because before it was John Williams and Hans Zimmer that were doing everything.
Right.
It's nice to see some other people in the mix. There are other musicians. Give some of these, and Ludwig too, give some of these younger guys a chance. John Williams, no disrespect, but he's getting up there. You know what I mean?
Right. So I'm gonna go to something I'm coming straight for you, Katia, on this one, and this is Mank. Mank won 2 Oscars, and they won one for best cinematography, and then they won one for best production. I think it's best production design. Yeah. Thoughts?
That makes sense. This is a technically beautiful movie. I always said that. The one thing you cannot take away from this film, it's technically insane. It's so good. And I figured that's where they would win their awards. It's absolutely like if you turn off the sound, to me, that movie becomes more interesting.
I knew you were going to say that. All right.
If you like the God bless you,
I'm coming straight for you on this one, KB. Who won for best supporting actress?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were going to ask me about Mank, and I was going to be like, I didn't watch it.
Oh, no. Okay.
I actually chose to, live my life in a different capacity and preserve my peace. So
wow.
But best actress.
Best supporting.
Best supporting actress, I'm sorry. Yeah, listen, Minari is one of the greatest films. This was well-deserved. I think that we all predicted that she would win. And to Katia's point earlier, stop asking people about how other actors smell. Like, that is, but again, kind of the rant that I will go on today is, you know what, I feel like now what we need to start doing is having people submit their questions in advance and only being allowed to ask those questions. And then we can weed out the ones that are like, how does Brad Pitt smell? I don't care how Brad Pitt smells. She had a fantastic run in this role. She was extraordinary. She was exceptional. I am so glad that she won. And we should have spent all of our time asking her about her career, what this means to her, how she feels about this, what's next for her. I mean, we should have been, kind of getting some wisdom from her and the years of this illustrious career that she's had.
She re-entered her career also later in life. After she raised her 2 boys.
Exactly.
Which is, again, what a wonderful story to inspire women that are older, that you're never too old to revisit the things that you love. And again, the entire write-up about this woman who is so amazing has been about Blamby not paying for plane tickets, about this, that, and the third, and we have yet to talk about her career. And it's mind-boggling. Like, what's wrong with folks?
I am so glad that you brought that up. All right, again, I'm looking at the time, so I'm going to go to 2 films and get a comment from both of you guys on this. So we get Best Animated Feature Film, obviously with Soul. I thought it was fantastic, and we get Best Live Action Short Film, which was 2 Distant Strangers. Any thoughts on both of those?
So I liked Soul. Obviously there's still some troubling things for me, with the white woman being in a black man's body. So there's still some issues with me there. I liked it. However, me personally, I actually was rooting for Wolfwalkers, which was an exceptional animated film. And I adore it and could watch it again right now, with no complaints, because I thought it was extraordinary. So.
Okay, cool.
But Soul is good. So,
Cool. Kathy.
I mean, I think, okay, here's one clarification. A lot of people are like, Diddy and so forth have won an Oscar. Technically, no, because only 2 people get a statue with short film. That's the 2 guys you saw up on the podium. I do think that it is nice to see, and I have been saying this for years, Diddy, all these other people did what needs to be done. Help Black, help people of color by funding their projects and letting them do the creative part. You get to sit in your producer's chair. You get to brag to everybody that you helped produce an Academy Award winning project. You know what I mean? I have problems when you try to slide at that producer's chair and be the director and the actor, knowing that this is not your wheel. You know what I mean? And I think we need to see more of that, you know, because that film is so timely and it's so well made. And Joey Badass can act. You know what I mean? I think he's a really, really good actor. And the other thing I want to say is we all, and I'm going to say this for myself, need to do a better job when we are covering film festivals of covering short films, because there are a lot of people so busy seeing the long form. And again, I'm including myself in that we think of short film as an aftermath. Oh, I have some time in between these two things. Let me sneak one in.
Me too. So I think that
we better at that. It's like, you know, let me have some lunch and watch a short film type of thing. And then
I think you're making such a great point. All right, so I'm gonna skip. I'm just gonna make a comment. I know you guys probably want to make a comment. The best sound went to Sound of Metal, and if it didn't, there would have been a problem. I'm talking about we would have had a major problem. The trains couldn't leave the station because they did so well with using sound and not using sound. So good for that. Unless you guys want to make a comment.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. So then for Ma Rainey won too. They won one for best costume design, and obviously they won one for makeup and hairstyling, and that was a monumental moment. I'll let both of you guys speak to that.
I support it. Hair and makeup, love seeing, you know, I just love that Ma Rainey got something, some due. And, you know, I love that Black women behind the scenes got some due and some credit. And so that's all I have to say about that. You know, I will always be a supporter of Black women. I am thrilled about it. I thought that the costuming, the makeup, the hair was everything that it needed to be in addition to those stellar performances. So, yeah, that's all I'm going to say.
Clancy?
I want to say that this team actually is Viola Davis's team, and she brought them onto this film, and she's taking them on to her next project. This is, I hope, I always say we got to talk about the guilds. One of the biggest complaints that Black actresses have, that aren't enough people when they come on set to do their hair and makeup. We all know one thing that Black women know how to do is hair and makeup. Like, there isn't anywhere we can go in the world we can't find somebody to do our hair. I'm just keeping it 1,000. But somehow there is a disconnect when it comes to this branch of the guild and allowing or facilitating more Black women to become a member of that guild so we can take care of our women. So hopefully this win will help push the conversation forward, because not everybody's in a position like Viola Davis where they can say, you know what, I'm going to put it in my contract.
That's right.
That this is who's doing my hair and makeup, because I ain't got time to be playing with folks. You know what I mean?
You know, to Katya's point, we say time and time again, and we hear this in our interviews with Black women, that they've had to come to set and do their own hair and carry their own makeup as actors. And I mean, you know, time's up for that now. Like I'm hoping, to your point, that we get more Black women in this guild, and now we can see more Black women in these spaces behind the scenes, creating these looks for us, but also authentic looks. Because y'all, sometimes these wigs that they get, I'm like,
I know, right? And this is the other thing that people forget is, like, these women weren't just, they literally researched and said, this is what women wore, and this is the material. And then the wig that Viola wore was made out of horsehair, because that's what happened then. She did specify in the Critics' Choice thing that the hair was washed. Like, we didn't take it off the horse and just put it on Viola. Like, it was cleansed.
That's funny. That's funny.
Everything, you know?
That's funny.
That's amazing, you know?
And I'm really glad that you guys mentioned the whole thing about the hair and makeup. And you're so right, KB, that we're in so many interviews where we hear that. And that just makes me just want to throw in a plug for a Black Lady Sketch Show, because they talked about that a lot on their show. I hope people check that out. It's on HBO
HBO.
HBO. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's
And
on
HBO Max.
in the HBO Max, because they really talked about how it was so rewarding to be in a place where they didn't have to bring their own makeup, didn't have to bring their own hair stuff and all that stuff. And so it is really great to see this from an Oscar perspective. So last two categories is Best Actor, and we already talked about it. I was shocked. That's all I could say. I was shocked. I know, Katya, we talked about that there were three really good performances. Well, everybody except on the main side, there were great performances. But if I was to choose, I would have chosen either, obviously Riz Ahmed, Anthony Hopkins, or Chadwick. I just would have given it to Chadwick because there's not another chance for him to win. But I guess they thought maybe that's the same thing for Anthony Hopkins too.
Reggie. Anthony Hopkins hasn't asked. You know, I mean,
dude is getting up there. That's all I'm saying. Katya is saying to me all the time, she's like, give them their roses while they're here. So maybe they decided, they like,
I don't want to. I love Anthony Hopkins' performance in The Father. It is an insanely good performance. And I'll stand on that. When I first saw it, I was like, you know what? I knew he was going to make the 5. And we saw this thing, in February? So the issue, again, this is where we have to kind of call our counterparts on the carpet. Nobody has an issue with Anthony Hopkins. He was over there in Wales drinking his water and minding his business, right? Leave that man be. But the issue I have, once again, there's been 6 people that are Black that have won an Academy Award for a leading role. 6 in the 93-year history. The disrespect, people call this a play. You never said that about any of Neil Diamond's work. Barefoot in the Park, The Apartment, Odd Couple, were all plays before. Everybody calls him an innovator, and he's so this and he's so that. August Wilson, because his topic is Black working class people, now we all of a sudden have a problem understanding because it's not about you. So here's, again, the double standard. And Levy is somebody we know, somebody that we've read about, somebody that is adjacent to us, what he was talking about. And also, we've all struggled with our faith, especially as Black people, when we see the stuff that happens to us. So for us, it wasn't that hard of a leap, to make. But again, you have a lot of people who are very narrow-minded. And this is what I mean, the microaggressions and the, these are people that will say, I'm not racist, but their thinking is racist. The way that they interpret work is racist. And I do think, again, we have to start having real, honest discussion. Why is it when it's coming from a white lens, it's great, but when it's coming from a Black lens, it's a problem?
Yeah, and that's going to be obviously this on this show we always broach that. I mean, when you look at somebody like August Wilson, he's not considered the greatest playwright in America, even though he is, and this guy has won 2 Pulitzer Prizes and so on and so forth. So you're absolutely right. I want to get to this last segment so that my friend KB can get to her 1,500 interviews. I need to figure out how's she interviewing all these people. It's just, there's something not. Anyway, I am having a problem. But Best Picture, you guys. Best Picture went to Nomadland. I said to Sean that I thought this was where it was going to go. I think it's a really good movie. It makes sense that Francis will win because, I thought they did a really good job of showing this different slice of life that you wouldn't have seen anywhere else. KB, I see you rolling your eyes, so I would like to hear your thoughts.
I mean, I mostly was rolling my eyes at you in the shade, so I was starting there because you know how I got these interviews. I work hard, and so do you, and so does Katya. But anyway.
No, I didn't mean it like that. I didn't mean it like that you didn't work hard. No. You know what? That is disrespectful. I meant that you be getting them all, don't. I'm like, I'd be like, damn, girl. No, you go with
Listen,
your bad self.
y'all know how I roll. I share the wealth, so we could talk offline.
No. I didn't mean like that. That is disrespectful. So my bad.
I'm just messing with you. But no bad land. I enjoyed the film. I did. Did I see the Academy going this way? Sure. Did I want to go in a different direction? Yes. I feel like that's kind of been my sentiment over the course of this Oscar season. Listen, I think that Francis does an amazing job, and honestly, I think the cinematography on this film is stunning. I do think it's really, really beautiful, and at one point had me reconsidering my life. Like, dang, do I want to sell everything and just live on the road? I don't know. Do I need a different type of pace and ease of life and become a minimalist? Maybe I do. So yeah, I mean, I think again, her performance was good. I just think that I would have preferred to see wins in other places. But you know what? I personally would have loved to see Minari win Best Picture. Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. I mean, I would have liked to see a whole host of things, but we just didn't get it this year. And that seems to be the general sentiment most years. So
last comment on the Oscars, Katya.
I think it's really interesting because I really thought that Trial of the Chicago 7 was going to be that picture because that seems like a Best Picture. It has all as ensemble. But there's something about these voters, they do not like Netflix. And it's not, I don't know if it's because they have the money to campaign, that some of these other folks were struggling, and Netflix was cruising. They didn't lay anybody off. They were like, lights are still on over here and we're going to continue doing this. I do think there's a personal vendetta against them. And, it was very interesting. I like No Man Land too. But I think part of that was there were people who voted that really enjoyed that film. And I also feel like some people voted in order to deprive Netflix of that Best Picture.
Wow.
I think we have to start talking about this because it's not that they're not putting out good content. They're not a newer company. I mean, it's really interesting. And again, I do think it's one of those things where a lot of studios that had to merge and had to kind of can't put out the content that they can put out. They can't go directly to the people. Netflix plays that game where they put the movie out for like a week so they can compete, but their whole focus is still to the subscribers. And again, they have the purse strings, and they're not going anywhere. And at some point, they're either going to have to concede that this company is here, or, I don't know, we're going to have to start pulling some people. But I do think I did not see this coming. And I'm with KB. I would have liked to see Minari because, again, this is a beautiful American story. And it is just so heartfelt. And we all were boohooing at Sundance. And then Stephen Yen started crying and we started crying some more with him. And I'm so glad Lee Isaac did not quit making movies because we wouldn't have had this.
Well, we're going to have to leave it there. I'm going to give you guys one last comment, and this is the section where we just talk about what was the best thing we did this week. Look, this has been a tough week for me. So the best time I had this week was talking to the guys from the movie Paper Tigers. And let me just tell you why. I don't even know if the interview was good. I had fun. See, it was the best thing I did. They were laughing at me. I think that maybe if they would put me on their podcast, maybe that might work. But that was the best thing I did. They were fun. It was fun talking to those guys because I knew I was the last person and I needed to pick me up, and they did too. Because when you're doing these interviews from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m, and you're just doing them one after one after one after, so that was the best thing I did this week. It was a lot of fun. I'm going to go with you, KB. Best thing you did this week.
Yeah, best thing so far was actually talk to Kelvin Harrison Jr. about Monster. I mean, I just think that he's an extraordinary talent, and he puts his all into every performance. And there was something about this chat that was just so easy, so personal, so in-depth, so poignant. It was almost like chatting with family, because there was there was an ease to it. to the conversation. And it really was just about the work and the art and, you know, the state of the world that we're in now and being Black. And it just has so many layers. So I think that was the best thing that I've done this week. And you know what, Reggie, I can't wait to see that Paper Tiger interview, because if you have fun, then that means it's a great one. You know, it's always good. You put that energy in there.
Thank you so much. Katya, best thing you did this week.
I will agree with Kate Beast talking to Calvin Harrison Jr., who I think is just uber beyond out of this world talented. And just to hear him speak about his career and how he sees himself. And, you know, I wish amazing things for him. And this is what I love about our roundtables. We get to have real discussions. And this is what I mean. Like, we're not going to ask him about what kind of afro sheen he got in his hair. You know, is that his quarantine hair? Or we're going to talk to him. And it shows when the talent feels seen, then they're more relaxed. Then they're more willing to have the conversation. I get it. Like, you know, when we do these junkets and we see our people of color that are a little guarded, you know what I mean? And then when you kind of like open that conversation and they go, okay, we're not going to, this is going to be a little bit different. So what we do has value. So that's my final word. What we do has value.
Hey, that's it. I got my girl KB in the house. Got my girl Katya in the house. And I'm the Real Critic. This is the Real Critic Roundtable, where African-American critics come to discuss, debate, and have some fun. We did all of that, and we'll see you guys again next time.